Entrepreneurs aren't born, they are made through failures, breakthroughs, and relentless hustle. Welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, 100 plus podcast stations. This is where visionaries share their unfiltered journeys, strategies, and game changing insights. Your success story starts here. This is more than just a show, it's a movement. Watch, learn, and elevate. Welcome back to episode number 5 of the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and today we have an extraordinary guest, Leah Roling. But before I introduce you to her, I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership. What is it to be a leader? What does it take to be a leader? Sometimes in life, when you feel you're down and out, you feel things are not working the way you want it to be, and every obstacle seems like a bigger problem every now and then. It's in those moments there's a voice in you that tells you, okay, Rohit, you can do it no matter what, no matter which place you're in, no matter which problem you're in. If you believe in yourself in those tough moments, if you start believing in yourself in those moments where you feel, can I do it, can I not, that's where the leader within you rises. Yes, a lot of mentors can help you out, but at the end of the day, it's in you, it's in your courage to get that leader out. And today we're going to be taking a massive deep dive into exactly that leadership area. So today my guest is Leah Roling, a leadership architect, executive coach, and co-founder of The Modern Culture. Leah specializes in helping executives and entrepreneurs scale their vision without burnout while building impactful leadership skills. So now I would like to introduce you and get on the stage, Leah Roling. Hi Leah, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you? It's so good to be here.
I love that. I love the part where we're going to be talking about it. I'm so excited about this chat with you. And I really want our viewers to know a little bit more about you before we dive into the leadership part, before we dive into the actual thing that they are here to learn. But I would love for you to share with us a little bit more about Leah Rowling.
Oh my gosh. First, I'm so glad to be here. Congratulations. What a fun way to bring your voice to the world. So the world needs more of it. My name's Leah Roling. I am a mom of 3 boys, a loved wife. I have Saint Bernadoodle, and his name is Mac. And so I'm a dog mom as well. But I love leadership, and I love the idea of personal development and personal empowerment. And I love enrolling people in their potential. I feel like this has been something that I've been doing ever since I could probably walk and talk and see possibilities in other humans. And so I've been able to do this work for, good Lord, 35, 40 years. And so it's been incredible. And I get to take all of the knowledge and all of the experiences that I've had with either really great leadership or not so great leadership, and certifications and ideologies and frameworks and models, and really be able to bring them forward to the world by way of these type of conversations and by way of the training that we get to do in the world. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, I love that. And if we were to dive into the leadership part, I like our viewers to get the most important thing right away. I don't want
Yeah.
to wait for it.
Love it.
Tell us, Leah, what to you is leadership, and usually what are the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, and people in general make while they're starting leading something and in their leadership career? What is that usual big mistake?
Well, I think the big mistake is not taking that role of leadership important. And what I mean by that is, I think sometimes, like, it used to be leadership was a characteristic trait that we had reverence for. And now I think we just talk about it very kind of loosely. And I don't know that many leaders have defined what it means to be a leader. what it actually means to summon the very best of themselves and to put themselves out there into the world every day. I think leaders think that that's something that they have to do as opposed to an opportunity to get to lead people. And I also think that we fail to realize that we have a tremendous responsibility as leaders. Like if we raised our hands and we're like, we want to lead a movement, we want to lead a family, we want to lead a business and organization, then we also have to know what comes with that responsibility. And in that responsibility is this idea that you can either be the very best thing that happens to somebody every day or the worst. And the research on that is very clear. There's really no gray. So you either get to summon the very best of you to enroll the best of the people that you get to lead, or the latter part. And I don't think that we take that on as a responsibility that we think about tremendous around and we give investment to. So that's the first thing. And the other thing I would say is that we don't realize that it's really hard to ask somebody to follow you if you don't know where you're going. And so as a leader, and you said it before, like we've got to lead within. We have to have the principles and the practices and the self-awareness so that we lead ourselves. And then we can invite others to step into their leadership.
And the moment you said inviting others to step into their greatest potential, I have something I really want to know. And this is for our viewers too.
Yeah.
How can you turn your potential into possibility? Because a lot of people say, hey, you have talent, Rohit, you have talent. But how could Rohit go from a place of adversity or problems or not being successful or failing consistently to getting consistent success? What's your take on that, Lee?
My take on that is, as a leader, we get to see people in their possibility. We get to see people in the potential of who they can be, as opposed to consistently look at who they are and who they have been. And I think the world has conditioned us to believe that what's possible for us is based on what we are currently able to do, as opposed to the capacity of who we can grow into, who we can become. And so the curriculum plan is rarely on the gap between where we are and our future. The curriculum plan is typically driven by outcomes, right? As opposed to leading people, we lead outcomes, which will always tie us in to the result of the now, as opposed to how can I, as the leader, help them to see where their gaps are from where they are to where they want to be. So the first thing is we've got to see the potential in them first, because they will see in you what you see in them. So do you see them as a frustration? Do you see them as a disappointment? Do you see them as lazy? Because whatever you see in them will manifest, no doubt. And if you want a culture of A+ leaders that have autonomy and that have agency and that are free thinking and very decisive, we've got to empower them with those tools. And we have to believe that they are capable of it. Otherwise, not only will they not see it for themselves, but you won't see it to recognize it and invite them into it.
I love this part where you said you need to invite them, because what happens is a lot of people have unrealized potential. And when that happens, there are a lot of people who live in regret. And talking about regret, a lot of people go through certain things while they're leading organization. And guys, we're going to talk a lot more about all these things. But coming back from the break, what we're going to do is we will talk about business growth. Because what happens is you can have all the leadership skills in the world, but if you don't know how to drive your business with the same skills, you're going to fail a lot, which is exactly what we're going to discuss when we'll come back from this short break. So I'll see you right back. As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently so that You don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing is that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high impact marketing and scroll stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you. Welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur, episode 5. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and we have an amazing guest today, Leah Roling, a transformational leadership expert who has coached Fortune 500 executives and high growth entrepreneurs. So, this is our time before the short break where we talked about business growth. We were talking about leadership, but now we're going to tell and share with you how you can grow, scale your business to the absolute next level while using the exact principles that Leah have used to help her amazing clients. So let's welcome back Leah on the scene. Here we go. Yeah, Leah, could you share with us some of your best tips and techniques that helped you and your clients scale their businesses just through the exact same leadership skills that you consistently talk about?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that I want leaders of the world to understand that they are their greatest asset, right? When the leaders of the world, of Fortune 500 companies down to households, when you realize that you're your greatest asset, you will invest in yourself. You will take care of yourself. You will have a foundation of confidence and courage that is required for next level growth, next level scaling, next level progress, next level potential. When we don't invest in ourselves, right, we will consistently doubt ourselves. We will consistently blame other people, the world, situations, circumstances on why it is that we don't have what it is that we believe we are deserving or what we want. And so I think that is probably the biggest thing, is that the leaders that scale the most, they lead with a level of self-trust and they lead their mind. They lead their mind.
And like you said, you have worked with a lot of leaders, right? And
Mhm.
in those doubtful moments they have, all the successes they have had, all the experiences, adversity, what is the biggest pattern that you have seen consistently over a prolonged period of time in the successful ones?
So good. I would say that the great leaders doubt their doubt, not their mission. If we're doing really big things in the world, and I'm assuming if you're listening to this show, you are, right? You're taking big risks, you're putting yourself out there, you're doing things that aren't quote unquote smart, which means that they're not realistic, right? You're doing something that's wild and big and bold. It's going to invoke a little doubt or a lot of doubt. And that's the way of it. I think sometimes we use the doubt to stop us, to put a pause on it, to think that something has terrible has gone wrong, as opposed to use it to inform us and to motivate us and encourage it. So really it's the meaning that leaders give to their doubt. And as opposed to using it as an asset, they use it as a liability that keeps them stuck in primitive brain thinking, which just keeps us all small, just doing just a little bit better than we did the day before. And I'm guessing if you're listening again to this, you're not interested in like incremental growth. You're interested in maximum growth, maximum opportunity, maximum impact and influence.
And I agree with this part where you said like maximizing your potential, and as a leader there are places that you have to go sometimes to get to the best results that you want and the best results that you're looking for. And as a leader myself over the past few years, one of the things that I have discovered is you're always growing. So you're never perfect in leading teams, right? So you always grow. Like even if you're so much successful and you have all the traits of knowing what to do when for your team, even then, each and every day you learn something new because challenges come every day. Challenges is where you get to know who you truly are in those dark moments when things don't work out. So I really like that part of discussing, and I want to dive deeper into people who are even starting a business as well. So I
Mhm.
want your advice on what people can do to scale a company from scratch as a leader. What do you suggest to someone who's starting out from today on how they can scale their company from scratch just with the same leadership skills?
Mm. So I think there's an evolution, right? There's an ecosystem that is built. So if it's just you in your scaling, it's really how can I grow this to the next level? And and then as you bring on people, then it's how can we? And then that next level of ecosystem development is then how can they? That is how you continuing to lead up and level up and realizing that people aren't looking to be managed, they're looking to be mentored and supported and led. And so the tools are no different. The tools are really to explore what it is that you want, what that scaling looks like, and to really understand it so that you know when you've gotten there that you're there. That's the level of specificity that I want us to really be thinking about in, imagining about in, and dreaming about in. And then from that place, right, where you are and where you want to be, there's a gap there. There's a gap there on purpose, right? If there wasn't a gap there, you wouldn't be growing. And so when we recognize the gap as an opportunity to step into a next level, a next version of ourselves, then we can do it without such trepidation. And we can create that gap, right? By using truly the future of what it is that we're wanting to do and create ourselves a roadmap for that next best step, that next right step, and not get confused by it because you're going to want to. Not use indecision as an excuse to not continuing to make that next step, to realize that there is no bad decision. There's just the next decision that you're going to make right by. You're either going to make right by it or you're going to learn from it. And you just keep going step by step, understanding that you are going to have doubt. You are going to have tremendous fear, and to embrace it instead of avoiding it, resisting it, reacting it, blaming on it, right? Which then comes down to that leader within analogy that you used at the very beginning, is really understanding what it means to have an entrepreneurial mindset. What does it mean to have an entrepreneurial heart set and to be willing to feel discomfort as the price for growth, and being okay with that and knowing that that is the way. You can't get there any other way. That it is the currency for that next level. And to think that it's going to be easy, right, is a fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's not supposed to be easy. And why? The question then is, why would you want it to be? I guess.
And I like that we discussed something around excuses as well, because excuses is one of the things that held me back initially. Yes, I was a student who didn't like too much studying, but I had to study. So great students get an idea of more than anyone. And you must have got the same experience earlier that when you start out something, you may have excuses of either not going to places, either not joining places, and it all ends with passion. So as a leader, you need to decide which passion you want to choose to go from a place to another, right? So excuses is one of the biggest reasons that hold anyone back, because if I want to take a sales call, any way, shape, or form, I'm going to take that sales call, even if I'm traveling in Switzerland in August of 2024, no matter what, wherever I am. I did that. I was traveling Europe 6 months. I took my sales call. I had my boundaries, and like we'll discuss more on boundaries part, because boundaries is pretty easy, like in terms of if you understand boundaries, okay, but it's always difficult initially to understand how to say no, because people are unable to say no, and then they are in patterns which holds them back consistently. So shifting gears, you emphasize return on life or just return on investment. What does that actually look like in practice, Leah? Tell us a little bit more on that.
Mm. I think it goes with a lot of things that we're teaching in the modern culture. Like the modern culture is really about disrupting um, the way that we currently live, the way that we lead, the way that we love. Because I think, no, I know we have been taught wrong I'll just say it. We've been taught wrong, or we've not been taught at all. And we've been left to make assumptions about the way the world works. And I believe that massive self awareness is really inviting ourselves back into what the truth is about how life works. This idea of ROI versus ROL is just one of hundreds of examples of where we have been taught falsely. So, most of us have been led to believe that joy and happiness and fulfillment in life is a byproduct of whatever we might define as success, right? Whether that's money, whether that's whatever, when we say return on investment, whatever that means to you, whether it's followerships or influence or money or fame, okay? We've been taught that joy and happiness and fulfillment is a byproduct of that. And we want to shake that all up for you because we believe the science proves that actually the ROI, money, success, fame, whatever it is that you define it by, is actually a byproduct of joy and fulfillment and a life well lived and health. And so in our book that we wrote, where we talk about these variables and we talk about the importance of understanding what they mean and what we've been led to believe that they mean, and really shake it all up for you and invite you to consider a completely different way to look at success and fulfillment. So,
And talking about success and fulfillment, what are the biggest reasons you think people are unable to get to the place they want, to get to that success and fulfillment? Because a lot of people desire a lot of things, and I guess desire is just too much sometimes. So, what would you suggest to someone who has too many desires all at once and is burning themselves out because of it and are not reaching out to their potential as an entrepreneur? And
mm,
as so, what would you suggest to that person?
I would suggest that we have to redefine what success means. We have to redefine what fulfillment means at the end of the day, right? What are your values, right? And and we have to be willing to think about if we believe that guilt is required if we're not working 24/7, if we believe that guilt is required to take care of ourselves, if we've been led to believe that you have to work hard and hustle more, and if we have this false illusion of trading money for time equation, then we will constantly be chasing time, and we will constantly be hustling and bustling to try to create more money. And if you are somebody that wants to make and create more money in the world, chasing time and trying to create more time is not the way to do it. And again, it's another false principle and perspective that we have been led to believe. So we have to we get to decide what our relationship is with success. How do we define it for ourselves? What are our values? If we say we value family and yet they don't get the best of us ever, right? Because we've prioritized the hustle bustle culture, thinking that there will be a time, there will be some time and a different time that you'll be able to take care of your family, that you'll be able to have time to spend with your family. If you value health and yet you don't prioritize sleep and nutrition and exercise and meditation, right? And you reprioritize working and checking off boxes, then are you are you investing the time that you get in this life in alignment with your values? And if there is a misalignment there, you will constantly feel out of balance. You will constantly feel incongruent because what you truly want and what you truly value is not the way and how you're living.
And one of the biggest things, Leah, that happened with me back in 2019 before I started a business, this is a book that I read. It's called The 5 a.m. Club. And I learned that formula of 20 20 20 club. And in that 2020 club, it was pretty simple. You wake up, you start moving, your body gets better, you get freshen up, and you start working and eat the frog right away. So you do
Mhm.
the most important task of the day so that burden goes away from you. And then there's one other thing that I learned, that every leader, every entrepreneur, every person who is starting out or already successful, who is watching this stream, I would like them to know that you need to start journaling. And when I say journaling, don't need to do it every day. You can just do it twice or thrice a week, but just write down whatever that's happening with you and what your goals look like. Because there's something about human mind, when you write stuff down, it just amplifies. So, what's your take on that, Leo?
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. Um, I think journaling, meditation, these are tools that I don't believe that leaders leverage because there's some sort of like voodoo aspect to them, and yet the research on both are crystal clear. Almost almost as much as we should drink water for our health. Um, Meditation or allowing ourselves to get into a parasympathetic state so that we're not exhausted all the time. I think one of our tools, I think there are two tools in leadership that if we fail to really execute on, it doesn't matter how principled we are and how many certifications we have around leadership and whether we can assimilate both human and hard skills. If we don't manage our energy, and we don't create environments of trust, it doesn't matter. So, in order to have better energy management, meditation is required. And you might not want to call it meditation, but there is an invitation to pause frequently throughout the day where you just shut your eyes and you breathe, right? It sounds like a very easy concept, but also foreign at the same time. But nobody does it better than you do, right? People are like, how should I breathe? Like, no, shut your eyes and breathe. You do it when you're sleeping, you do it a lot more than you think you do. And yet we forget the impact that that has on our ability to make decisions, on our ability to realign with what is true. And if we don't, we will just let that cortisol response be the very thing that drives decisions that we most likely would not have made had we have taken the beat, had taken the pause to reflect consciously on what it is that we want for our life. So I agree wholeheartedly with journaling or with meditation, and to your point, journaling. It's really hard for you to understand the limitations of your life unless you reflect on the limitations by way of thoughts in your mind. And journaling allows you to see all of your limitations because you will write them all down. You
Well,
will write them all down.
it's all about making decisions at the right time and at the right moment. And
Mhm.
before we go to a short break in a minute or two, I want one big thing that I want to know from you, because we discussed return on life 5-10 minutes ago. So, according to you, Leah, what's a simple habit or practice that can immediately improve someone's return on life before we go into short break, please?
Mm. I think it's just the foundation of all of personal development, which is awareness. if if we are not constantly assessing how we're showing up in the world, how we're showing up in our life, if we're not taking a beat at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the week, at the end of the week, to assess how am I showing up? How am I showing up in my family? How am I showing up in my business? How am I showing up in my life in these areas that I say matter? How can I affect change if I'm not even aware of what could be changed? So I think awareness is got to be fundamental as a practice for, I think, for leaders and just in our living the very best, most conscious life we can.
Thanks a lot, Leah, for sharing that quick bit. So, guys, yeah, we got to run now into a short break now, but we just discussed business growth with you. And when we'll come back, Leah's going to dive deeper into how leaders can create cultures that drive innovation, alignment, and impact. So, stay tuned with us. We're going to come back after this short break.
I'm guessing you didn't build your business to micromanage, to put out fires, or chase engagement. But when leadership isn't intentional, this is exactly what happens. Culture suffers. When we forget that leadership is the most important skill, it is the multiplier skill, because leadership shapes all of culture, and culture creates all of your outcomes. And most organizations are struggling just to keep up. If scaling feels like it's costing you culture, it's time to build a structure that sustains both. AI can replace systems, but it can never replace leadership. The businesses that are thriving today, they create environments where trust drives performance, purpose fuels productivity, and people actually want to show up. The modern culture isn't a program. It's a revolution, eliminating the trade-off between success and sustainability, because the best businesses are led by people who value, inspire, and elevate those around them. Leadership, my friends, isn't the problem. Leadership is the solution. The only question is, are you ready to lead?
Welcome back to the episode number 5 of the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host, Rohit Soni. Leadership, like we discussed, isn't just about business, it's about the people you lead. Leah, let's talk about building a culture that scales success. You call culture a competitive advantage. What does a thriving company culture look like to you today?
So I think we forget as leaders that we drive the culture. Leaders drive the culture, culture drives behavior, and behavior then ultimately drives outcomes. And yet, I think leaders get it wrong. Like, we believe and have been led to believe that leaders drive outcomes, leaders drive results. But there are humans in the middle, especially if you lead bigger organizations, that we are hoping to utilize, to leverage, to give them autonomy and agency to own a role within the organization. Otherwise, why would we even have them? And so the fundamental principle is that leaders lead people, they don't lead outcomes. And so when we can understand that, when we can redefine what we manage, if you will, what we mentor, we can change the game. We can change the game, because when we have people that have ownership in their role, right, that trust that they can have autonomy and agency and have the space to innovate and be free thinkers and either learn or win, right? You have trust. When that trust is broken, you have people that are just coming to work checking boxes, right? And you won't get the result that you want, because either one of two things will happen. They will either just do kind of mediocre work, because if you don't care, why should they? Or they will need you to validate everything that they do because they're scared to get it wrong. They won't be innovative. They won't be creative. They won't think outside the box, right? They will deliver something to you that doesn't look any different because they don't feel like they can bring you anything different, because they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe. And the number one reason why employees, team members, etc., leave a job isn't because of the job. It's because of the leader, right? It's because they don't feel seen, they don't feel appreciated, they don't feel heard. And so if we really want to create a culture where we allow our team members to lead themselves within the ownership realm of the role that we've given them, that we've entrusted them, then we must trust them, which means that we have to relinquish a lot of control, right? A lot of the burden that we self-impose upon ourselves to do it. Otherwise, it won't get done right, right? And so there is a level of release of outcomes and entrusting the people that we've brought on our team to bring those outcomes to fruition. And when we don't do that, that is when burnout happens. That is when we can't trust them to do it, so then we do it. We refuse to delegate because they'll do it wrong anyway, and we'll just have to redo it. And then so we hire all of these people, and then we become resentful that they're not doing the very thing that they were told that they were supposed to do. And we forgot The people don't want to be told what to do. They want to be empowered into owning what it is that they know that they want to bring forward in this work to do. So subtle difference, but everything.
Yeah, I get the idea of, it's much better to, instead of telling someone, empowering them that they have that potential to do the work that they have been hired for.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with this part of being feel seen and heard, because people in an organization will love that. Some odd years ago, I was leading an organization called Enactus. It's a famous organization that does business social cause work. And at that time, I learned this habit of appreciating everyone for their work. And if I were to critique someone, I'll critique them in private.
Mhm.
Because if you do that, what happens is people trust you a lot more. They see you as a leader, or they see you as a person who is there to guide them, support them every step of the way.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you have to remove the pretenders from the contenders. You have to get the right team. That's a topic for another day. But you need to have people who are there to give you ideas. So if someone works with me, I like them to give me ideas on what can be better.
Mhm.
That's one of the big things, and that's where you'll see if you're a good leader or things are not working out for you. And Lee, according to you, most entrepreneurs make this mistake of building and scaling teams. So what do you think are the usual mistakes they make, and how they can overcome those? Could you share a little bit more on that, please?
Yeah, I think leaders, they want to lead, they want to inspire and influence their managers, and yet two things happen. Either one, they invest in their managers to take a class, to get coaching or what have you, and I think that's great, but then they don't do it for themselves. So when their managers come back, they implement all of these what were awesome strategies, solutions, principles, philosophies, practices, and yet they don't have the buy-in from the top. They don't have the buy-in from the senior level executives that think that they don't have time to do this work. I would challenge them that you don't have time to not. And if you're not doing this work, don't waste your money to send your managers to do it, because all that's going to do is going to frustrate them when they come back and to try to infuse this new leadership culture into an organization, and they don't have the buy-in. They don't have the buy-in from the top. So that's the first one. The second one is just the art of language. Just being able to communicate and to inspire in a way that calls people up, not out, to your point, and that invites them to be accountable to themselves. Like, one of the biggest frustrations that my leaders have is that they don't feel like they have the buy-in from the team. And to that I say, you've not given them anything to buy into. Like, or I ask them, what have you asked them to buy into? Most of the time you've just told them, hey, these are the values, this is the vision, let's go. You've got no buy-in, and people support what they create. You've not given them anything to create. You've not given anything for them to own and feel like um, their contributions are meaningful. So you can't be surprised when they're just showing up checking boxes. That's all you've given them the autonomy to do, right? And then and so that's the buy-in part, that they lack the buy-in, and then they lack the language of influence. They lack the art of communication. They say they have a really hard time having their teams be accountable, right? And they think accountability is micromanagement. And I want to shake that all up for you, because it's not. Accountability equals expectation with love. That's what that looks like. It means that I see a potential in you, and we are going to have a conversation around what that potential is, because I know that you're a person of integrity. I know that you're a person of your word. I know that it's important to you that you show up on time. I know that it's important to you that you finish things in a timely manner. And yet, something is happening. And I want to understand more about what's going on. Not, you didn't do this and you didn't show up on time and you didn't. No, that does not work. That is not accountability. That's micromanaging. Accountability is the most loving thing you can do because it reminds them that they have potential that either one, they never knew they had, or two, they have forgotten.
And accountability is where leaders thrive, right? One, you put them into a place of chip on their shoulder that they need to prove something to themselves. And once they prove to themselves, what happens is now everyone is seeing that. And if you see one person doing something, the other one wants to get even better. The healthy competition is what organizations lead. And I believe at modern culture, this is one of the things that you
Yes.
help with because we know about modern culture because we work with you.
Yes.
And one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about is delegation because what happens is sometimes delegation can be a headache. And for most organization, it is. Okay. So what's the secret for Leah Roling to building a team that can execute without constant oversight? What's your take on that, Leah?
I think it's clear communication on what the expectations are, the collaborative expectations. I think that this project should go this. What are your thoughts? How can we bring this to the world in a way that's modern, that's a way in a way that's fresh? I want you to wrap your brain around this and bring me back something that's magical, knowing that it's not going to, I said magical, not perfect, right? So then what does that look like? It gives them the autonomy to be creative and to be innovative. And then they bring it back to us and we look at it. Does it miss? Does it hit? Does it need to be tweaked? Right? It's more in flow than a very rigid process. It's very flexible. It's adaptable. It's allowing humans to be human and to be imaginative. And so I think one is redefining what delegation means and what it means to you and what the expectation is on the other side of that. Because if you are delegating and the expectation is that when you get it back, and if it's at a certain time and a certain date and this is the deliverable, if that wasn't communicated, that's on you, leader, right? Because we can't be making assumptions here and be inspirational. If you want this back on Friday by 3:00 and you want it to be in a PowerPoint format that's enabled, you must say that. They're not mind readers. So if that's how you want to lead, then at least lead by giving them the expectation so that they have something that they can work within. But even more than that, that next step of delegation is being flexible to the outcome. The best work that our team does is when they are inspired to create something that are within the parameters, but not specific to what I have. Because what I think is possible is way below, most likely, what they can bring to the table if given the permission to.
And one of the things I like to talk about is innovation again. And being innovative is like if you give a person creative freedom, because one, how can a person feel that they have creative freedom? Is one when a leader empowers them. And when the moment they're empowered, now they can go back and share what they can actually do for you. One, they can innovate, they can reinvent, and then they can give you something that could be a new trend that a lot more people want.
Yeah.
So one of the things that even I teach to my students whenever I do some masterminds is you gotta reinvent. Success leave clues. Use those clues and do something that's new as well and people love and that has those success principles backed by it. And I know sometimes things don't work out the way you want, but you have to make those happen. Guys, we got to run into a short break right now. Thanks, Leah. We'll just come back in a minute. And when we'll come back, Leah is going to share how to reframe failures, navigate uncertainty, and lead with resilience. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
I'm guessing you didn't build your business to micromanage, to put out fires, or chase engagement. But when leadership isn't intentional, this is exactly what happens. Culture suffers. When we forget that leadership is the most important skill, it is the multiplier skill, because leadership shapes all of culture, and culture creates all of your outcomes. And most organizations are struggling just to keep up. If scaling feels like it's costing you culture, it's time to build a structure that sustains both. AI can replace systems, but it can never replace leadership. The businesses that are thriving today, they create environments where trust drives performance, purpose fuels productivity, and people actually want to show up. The modern culture isn't a program. It's a revolution, eliminating the trade-off between success and sustainability, because the best businesses are led by people who value, inspire, and elevate those around them. Leadership, my friends, isn't the problem. Leadership is the solution. The only question is, are you ready to lead?
Welcome back to the episode 5 of the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and we are wrapping up with Leah Roling, and now we are diving into leadership resilience and navigating adversity. So, Leah, according to you, you believe great leaders are forced through challenges. Can you share a time in your journey when adversity shaped your leadership experiences?
Every day, right? I think we've kind of shared that. If we are stepping into this life all in and trying to live and lead as big as we possibly can, there will be challenges, there will be adversity on the daily, and there will be doubt, there will be uncertainty, and as I mentioned before, the way to acknowledge, right, any of this doubt, any of this adversity, is to, one, expect it, right? I think so often we can be blindsided by it as if this shouldn't be here, like this shouldn't be part of the plan. And I want us to expect it as the price of living the biggest possible life. And so it's really all around the meaning that we give to the adversity, right? If we give it meaning that it's awful and that it's terrible and that, maybe we shouldn't do this, then that will be ultimately our result, and we will make decisions from uncertainty versus expecting it, understanding that it's there, and asking it to be our teacher. One of, there's many examples that I could give you, but one of the ones that kind of bring this forward is when I was looking to do my podcast. This was years ago. I wasn't sure what to call it. I wasn't sure what I would talk about. I was like, who's going to want to listen to me, yammer on for like 30 minutes to an hour on a topic about leadership. And so I called my sister, and I was sharing with her about what I was thinking about doing. And at least my memory of the experience was she immediately shifted to talk about my kids. And I got done with that call and I was frustrated. I was annoyed. I was upset. I had all these thoughts that we all do, right? Like, well, if she called me to tell me that she was doing a podcast, I would ask her what she was going to call it. I would ask her when it was going to air. I was going to ask her, like, how can I support you? And I'm going to be your best listener ever, right? These are the things that I would have done. And then I remembered, wait, she's not me. And then I remembered, why did I need her to believe in this podcast? And when I sat with that and I did my work around that, that's what I'm talking about. The work of self-awareness, understanding that nobody creates a feeling for you. What happened with my sister was what happened. I had a thought about it that frustrated me, that upset me, that caused me to doubt myself. My sister did nothing. And I used that opportunity for me to sit and reflect and be like, why is it that I needed her to believe in this podcast? And the answer was because I didn't believe in it. And I needed to be the one to believe in it because my sister isn't the one that's sitting in front of a microphone doing a podcast every week. I'm the one that has to do that. And so I had to come back into full trust and belief in myself in order to do it. So I think with regards to uncertainty, I think the way that you navigate it is to expect it. That's the very first thing. When it happens, not try to avoid it, not try to resist it, not try to blame it away, but to expect that on the other side of whatever this is, there is a possibility for growth, a really great opportunity for growth. The other thing is, how can I use this adversity as an asset? How can I use it to ask questions, to the adversity? Like, how can I use this to become smarter? How can I use this to become stronger? How can I use this to become a more valuable version of myself as a leader to my family and to my teams? And I think sometimes we resist adversity. And I like to think all adversity is just the gym of the mind, right? We go to gyms and we lift weights and we tear our muscles to become physically stronger. And nobody questions that, right? We do it on purpose. We pay people to put us in pain, right? And nobody questions it. Nobody's like, oh my gosh, you really did that? You really put yourself in harm's way just to get stronger? And yet, when adversity shows up in our life, right? All of us want to be like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible. That's so awful. That's horrific. When really, no, it's just a gateway to become psychologically stronger, to become more gritty, to become more resilient. And I would like to invite leaders to embrace psychological soreness way more than we do. Way more than we do. Too many of us are living too small because we're afraid to feel. Because we're afraid to feel discomfort. And when we really think about it, feeling discomfort doesn't feel all that bad. It's just that we're not very experienced with feeling at all. So that's what I would say to that, is just to embrace it, to open up to it, to use it as adversity for the mind, and to not run away from it, not be scared of it. Because when you can get good at turning adversity into an asset, you become a more valuable version of yourself to your life, and you get practice at feeling. And feeling is your superpower.
Well, yeah, I love this part where you said feeling is a superpower because that gut feeling that you have will take you a long, long way in life in terms of anything. I feel like failure, success, everything happens with that gut feeling. What's that voice in your head that is saying? Is it saying something empowering? Is it saying something that has doubt? So, going into the last question of our episode today, Lee, I'd like to talk to you about what's the one powerful mindset shift that can help leaders who are watching this episode at home or at different TV stations that can help leaders move through obstacles faster. So, what's your take on that?
My take on that really echoes on what you just said. Are we looking at the situation and the circumstance from a place of disempowerment, or are we looking at this from a place of empowerment? It's to truly understand and know that nothing outside of us creates our feelings. That the only thing that creates feelings is our thoughts. We are not taught this. We are taught forever that you can't do that. You can't say that. You'll hurt somebody's feelings. And it's not to say that we would want to do that, because that's not who we want to be, but it's not possible. The only person that can hurt your feelings, annoy you, frustrate you, create massive amounts of anger for you is you, right? Thoughts create feelings. It's one of the most powerful ideas that I can teach the leaders, because you're not being thrown around by your team. You're not being thrown around by the outcomes or lack of outcomes in your life. You're not being thrown around by your life. You're being thrown around by your mind. And when you understand that and you can leverage that, knowing that you are the creator of every single emotion that you have, and every single emotion is what drives the decisions that you make and ultimately the results of your life, you will speed up the pace with which you live. When you don't know that, you consistently slow down the progress of your life, because you're more interested in blaming everybody else for why it is that you're feeling the way that you are, excusing the way that you're feeling on, something that you shouldn't be feeling, right? And or avoiding or buffering your life, all so that you don't have to feel.
Well, it's all about feeling your way to success. And if you feel your way to success and you do the hard work, Leah's only advice for you is to keep working and not giving up on it, right, Leah?
That's right. That's right.
Thanks a lot, Leah, for being on the episode today. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show and get all our viewers to not only learn about you, but learn about what you're doing at Modern Culture, learn about how you have helped a lot of people scale their businesses and help them grow in their lives. So thanks a lot for being on the show. And thanks a lot for everyone who has watched this show, the episode 5 of the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. I would love for you to learn and make notes, like I always say in the previous episodes, to take notes. Because if you're not taking notes, you'll forget. But there's absolutely no way of watching this podcast, this show would help you if you don't make notes. That could be the any way. But I want everyone who has watched this episode, give your feedback in the comment section. Share with the leader, share with yourselves, share with everyone who you know can be helped through this episode so we can spread the word of not only leadership, but empowering each other as a team, as entrepreneurs, freelancers, founders, business owners. So, this is your host, Rohit Soni. This was episode number 5, and I'll see you in the next episode. See you soon. Success isn't for the chosen few, it's for those who choose to show up, take action, and never back down. This is the Empower Entrepreneur, hosted by Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, and 100 plus podcast stations. You've heard the strategies, you've seen the mindset. Now it's time to execute. I'll see you next week, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Go, build, dominate. Until next time, stay empowered.